This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
So nice.
But I deeply appreciate that a guy from Florida came here and just fell in.
Dunked his waders,
Yeah.
but he got his blanket.
I've floated my hat in those marshes so many times.
But the thing is we have the same. If I didn't have the canoe, I was going all the way in. The only
you were holding on to it.
Yeah, the only way I stayed on the canoe or like out of the water was I grabbed onto the canoe and like kind of like tricep dipped myself up and like kicked back to the
That
to
marsh
the
we're
water.
in is brutal.
Welcome to another episode of the Kitchen Conversations. At the Foul Weather Podcast, we truly believe that the kitchen is the perfect place for sharing information, spending time with family and friends, and genuinely BSing about life, ducks, the science of duck migration, duck conservation, and duck hunting itself. At either home or camp, the kitchen is a place to celebrate the day and come together to learn from each other, but also simply enjoy life. The Foul Weather Podcast aims to use the Kitchen Conversations as a way to bring duck science with duck science people directly to you in raw form, but we also aim to simply talk with duck people across duck country as well. Very often, you're going to notice that duck science people are also duck people from across duck country. Think about that for a second. Most of the people that work very hard to conserve ducks and duck habitat are also duck hunters from across duck country, USA. In this two-part kitchen conversation, we host some new Florida friends to the farm in Jacks Reef. We chat ducks, gators, frozen iguanas, Mosquito Lagoon, and much more as we compare notes about ducks in the north and ducks in the south. All of this over venison stew, some duck kebabs, and solid New York beers in the farm kitchen. This was a fun one, folks, with some great guys. So thanks for joining us on the Kitchen Conversations, and as always, may your skies be filled, and shoot straight, my friends.
Give me the cookies. I heard give me the cookies.
Mike picked that up.
We should have, and whoever, you're close to the door, so you're doing beer runs during this.
I don't got much to say.
I should just have, like, 2 more of these. And, like, when you guys show up, I should just be like, put these on.
Yeah.
Just like that conversation is gold. Like,
Yeah.
that's the stuff that
We run it back.
we run back
Yeah, we
to
can
it
talk
all.
about it again.
We
Yeah.
talk about the same stuff over and over again all day today.
Yeah.
So what do you think we're gonna shoot?
So how was the shooting today? Was it better than yesterday?
My shooting was better than yesterday,
they shot
personally.
Yeah, I mean, we were on them today. I think we just had a really nice shoot from just the perspective of birds coming in onesie twosies.
Mm-hmm.
We had birds coming in like 10, 15, 20 minutes apart. So I think, having a good hunt and consistently getting shots is just what I would define as just a fun hunt. And we got to shoot birds we've never shot before.
You never shot golden eyes.
Never shot
Never shot
golden
golden
eyes.
eyes,
We
yeah.
shot studs.
I
So
kind of asked them like, "What do you guys like want to shoot while you're up here? Like, we could just hunt like whatever is best, or we could like target some species you guys haven't shot, and
Yeah.
you guys are kind of like collectors, like I do it, and like I'd really like to shoot a goldeneye. I'm like, well, that would be probably one of the harder things, given like what the weather's been like. It's really hard to kill, especially when they're like diving everywhere and on the big water. But like today was pretty easy to get those two. I figured
And you
that was
killed them
good.
because so first of all, for everybody listening, what we have here is Dominic Hockenberry, my PhD student, which sounds weird, like I own you, which is not a thing. A PhD student in my lab working on mallards, and then his friends from Florida, Jack and Seth, that came up to New York to kind of hunt the later part of the season. So, but when I worked on goldeneyes, so I shot about 250 goldeneyes over 2 winters on Lake Ontario for research. We shot 750 ducks. Longtail ducks, buffleheads, goldeneyes over 2 winters. So when everybody's like, hey, Mike, do you want to go hunt? And it's going to be really, really cold. It's going to be great. Do you want to go out? I'm like, no. 'Cause I spent December 20th, that's about when we started, a few days before Christmas,
Yeah.
all the way till March on Lake Ontario. and all the boat launches are closed.
It's
So you're in like
Yeah.
a canoe, or I had Chesapeake Bay retrievers at that time, and I had 2 of them, and they retrieved about 250 ducks out of that study, so like a third of them.
wow.
So I remember shooting a lot of golden eyes that we didn't get because they're damn tough. So did you guys knock them down okay or not?
Dude, they like shot like pinpoint right on those, which
Yeah.
was kind of embarrassing because we've been spending like the last like 3 weeks like having a really hard time. Like probably like
To
I
even-
hate to say it,
even
embarrassing,
find
like
'em?
50% retrieval. Like you knock it down and they dive, and then you know next thing they know
they just don't
pop up 400 yards away,
Yeah.
and they're up for a hair of a second.
And Dom was talking about this, so I'm super worried. I'm like, this is like we're trying to like finish our 41 like most waterfowlers are, or not. I wouldn't say most, but a lot of waterfowlers are.
So-
So we're like, this is like a trophy bird that we both want mounted. Like this is such a like a special experience, and so I'm like, I'm not letting this go. So this duck is smoked dead on the water, and he had told me earlier, he was like, yeah, sometimes they'll go belly up for like 5 minutes.
Oh, and then they just lift their
they'll
head.
Lift their head.
And so
Yeah.
I'm on it. It's just he's like, don't shoot it. I'm like, I'm not shooting it. He's like, just don't shoot it. And it was dead, and we went and picked it up. But they're both beautiful birds that we shot. Even the hen was beautiful this morning.
Yeah.
It was a small hen, but I didn't realize how pretty golden eye hens were.
Yeah. And how much smaller they are than the drake, right?
Yeah.
Shot some big golden drakes.
Dominic knows this. I'll delete this if you get it wrong. Is why goldeneye males and goldeneye females are so much. If you look at the size difference of them,
Oh, I know this. Yeah, they're I never knew this until I started actually taking courses on it. But goldeneye are cavity nesters.
yeah, they nest in trees.
Yeah, I'm like, I did
But
not
they,
believe
but,
that.
but they stay really far north.
Yeah.
So like they're as big as they can be.
Mhm.
So the male's really big, and the males actually tend to stay further north than the females. But the
Yeah.
females still got to fit in a tree hole.
Yeah.
So she kind of is also constrained by like that, like what size tree can I fit in?
Yeah.
So like buffleheads and goldeneyes nest in the same areas in tree cavities, but they don't really compete because a bufflehead can just fit in all the little tiny holes that woodpeckers and other things make, where goldeneyes can't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just like a product of the environment, kind of like fish. Like the smaller the stream, the smaller the fish. It may be all fish.
Yeah, it's like a selection thing.
Yeah.
We
right?
can go into the whole
Constrained.
evolution of it, but
Yeah.
that'd be kind of boring.
Is it,
So Dominic, just for people's awareness, Dominic did this. You worked with fruit fly sex organs for your master's degree.
Wow.
I specialize in fruit fly, sperm genetics, and molecular biology, pretty much.
Yeah, and we ran into you at the lineup at Montezuma when it used to have to show up. I think I talked to you before because you were part of the Ducks on the Club at ESF. But then I ran into you. We started talking about stuff, and I was like, "You should come do a degree with me, maybe."
Yeah.
And then we talked with Lavretsky, who's on your committee,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Fuck, a gene jockey that also duck hunts." He's like, "We don't see that."
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, "I'm the only person out there that does that." So he's like, "Yeah, just hire him. It's fine." I'm like, "Well, his grades." He's like, "Yeah, it's fine." So,
Yeah, I thought you were.
I mean, I was like an A minus, like B.
well, you were
plus.
also running track.
Yeah, I ran track for Syracuse for really like 6 years because I got injured, COVID, red shirt, forever senior. And then after I got done with my injury, I started running kind of like semi-professionally in the marathon. And then now, body's kind of getting old. But
Oh my goodness, how old are you?
Yeah,
How old are you?
well, like running 120-mile weeks for a couple months on a row. Not great for you. It's like
I hear you.
doing it.
Yeah, your body breaks down a little bit. Well, you're still kind of a swamp foot, so.
Yeah.
And you've met these guys, so did Jack get you into hunting?
So this is the way I met Jack was I got Bailey the German short hair, and I grew up hunting, but I didn't grow up like hunting a lot. Like my dad hunted deer. He kind of gave that up when I started sports. Always fished. Came up here, fished Salmon River, Lake Ontario, steelhead fishing, great. Got the dog, got into upland hunting a little bit.
Because you're from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Yep.
And then went out for archery season in October, and I'm coming home from hunting, and I'm in the Tops parking lot grocery store, face paint on it, camo, like a mess, and Jack comes running from across the parking lot. He's like, "Hey man,
Yeah.
you hunt?"
Like, I need a friend, man.
I'm like, this dude's nuts. Like, this
Well,
guy's
at SU,
crazy.
at SU, right?
Yeah. I'm like, this guy's crazy. This is weird, but he's amped. He's like, "Do you hunt?" I'm like, yeah. I just got back from deer hunting. And he's like, "Do you go to Syracuse?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "I have yet to meet anybody in like 3 years that like hunts at Syracuse."
What's crazy is like we've been trying to get SU students on the ESF like Ducks Unlimited group, and there are actually a fair number of folks at SU, and of course the DU people want SU people because SU's private and super expensive schools, so they're like, oh, these are going to be future donors.
Yeah, for
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are actually a lot of them. It's just getting them engaged. It's surprising how many, like ESF did like a duck party thing, and a bunch of SU students did show up to it. But like how many of them actually engage in the club, because there's just other things I think they're doing, right?
I think
so.
The hunting opportunities around, SU and ESF are amazing.
We should not talk about that too much.
Yeah. Well,
no, you're fine. It's just,
I just
like I've already blown up enough of my spots.
Well, I just think about it from like a young hunter's perspective. Also from a someone who's 19, 20 going into college, wants to hunt by themselves.
Yeah.
In Florida, a lot of your hunts are big water. You got to use a boat. You got to have like a team of guys. There's not a lot of canoe and kayaks unless you draw permits.
Right.
And even those permit hunts, you maybe pulling 1 or 2 a year. If you've got a good group of guys where you kind of all put in, maybe you're getting a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But just from learning to kind of hunt mallards and kind of being able to duck into a marsh, buy a $300 Old Town Guide canoe, and just go out and shoot some species you've never shot before, was just an awesome experience. So.
Yeah, and I had somebody when I posted the why every state needs a draw hunt and the Arkansas stuff blew up. Yeah. They were like, "You just stay in New York, go back to New York." And I actually I'm like, send your hate mail to Dr. Mike. And like I got one guy that was like, "Why do you sound like a decent dude? Why do you live in New York?"
Yeah.
And so I'm probably actually going to do an episode which is going to be like, like a Fast and Furious about like there's nothing about rural New York that is better than anywhere else. I don't think it's the number of things that you can do.
Yeah.
Like on any given day
So
in the
much
fall.
diversity.
Right. My problem is like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And throughout my life, I'm like, right now I'm duck hunting. I'm always going to duck hunt, but I'm like really into my bow hunting. But I'm eventually going to go be a grouse hunter.
Yeah.
Get a grouse hunter.
Yeah,
or like get into salmon fishing.
Yeah.
And then you can do it on rivers, or you can do it on Lake Ontario. I mean, it's crazy. Like the sheer number of different things that you can do here. So,
I mean, I would say the same thing about Florida. You can go to the coast and catch pretty much any type of species of saltwater fish. You can, even if you get into specifically like around our area, like fly fishing or anything like that, you can get into surfing, you can get into hunting. There's so many things that you can do. And I would like encourage so many people to get out, because especially in our generation, they sit inside and don't do anything.
Yeah, and that's where like I really want this to go, is not talk about all the things that are spectacular in New York, so that like you guys came from Florida to hunt ducks up here.
We don't need
go
Floridians up here.
Go home.
Yeah, go on. Hey, shut your mouth.
Keep your mouth shut. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is like, I bring this up though, like it's not like it's amazing here.
Yeah.
No.
And can you come here and recreate? Sure.
Yeah.
But we are not the Pacific Flyway. We are not the Central Flyway.
Yeah.
We are not the Mississippi Flyway.
100%.
We're the Atlantic Flyway. And it still isn't that great. And you got to do that much more homework, I think, to make it a good hunt. But it's not like we don't have good hunting.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about duck hunting in Florida. And so that's really what and just all the Florida shit, like, I don't want my dog to get eaten by a gator. I think the South starts at the New York-Pennsylvania border.
Yeah. So if you got to really pick your days in your places with the dog, and
for sure,
kind of let Seth speak to this, because he runs his dog and he's got a bigger dog, and I've got Brittany's that I train and my family trains, and I love them to death, but that's the reason they don't go out there unless we're kind of hunting a saltwater marsh where we can see everything around us, because there are big gators out there, and they say every body of water in Florida has a gator. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Most likely that gator's a lot bigger than your dog, or sometimes it doesn't matter.
And even in saltwater, the gators go in the saltwater, especially during breeding season. They're going to go wherever they want to go. Like all the smaller gators meaning like 6-7 footers are all going to get kicked out by the big bulls that are 10, 12, 11 feet, you know? But yeah, I mean, I hunt a wirehair in Florida. She's 2.5 years old. Obviously, I grew up hunting short hairs, mostly upland birds.
Yeah.
But in Florida, it's just so hard because it's all drop birds. So as a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid all the way to me now, like it's so expensive to hunt drop birds. And I just don't have the funds.
So say that. What are those? They're
drop birds. So
drop
like
birds.
dizzy birds. People call them dizzy birds. So pretty much a bird that's been raised
Farm
in a
birds.
pen.
Oh, like
Game farm.
planted.
Plant
Game farm.
birds, yeah.
So
Wow.
what species are they then?
People drop quail. We do have a natural population of quail. It's just so small.
Yeah. Well, the Panhandle has them.
Yeah, the Panhandle does.
Real.
That's where I'm originally from. So.
Okay. So yeah. So you're a Floridian.
Yeah,
Florida.
Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to Florida. My dad was military. I moved to Florida right before my second grade year.
So what I would, given that, you know, the retirement thing and everybody moving from Florida and being really multicultural, like what, like I identify as somebody from New York. Not even New England, honestly. Like I'm a Western New Yorker.
Yeah.
Right. And there's certain things that define me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely wings, pizza subs, Buffalo Bills, and beer.
Yeah.
Those are pretty much the things. But like, what do you feel defines you as a Floridian?
Well, I mean, that's such a broad question. I think a Floridian is someone that one just enjoys the outdoors. I think there's so many opportunities, and like you get so many subcultures from the Panhandle all the way down to like you go from kind of plainy areas up in the Panhandle, like flat kind of rolling hills, all pine trees, all the way down to South Florida and the Keys. You get swamps, and you get really good offshore fishing, really good inshore fishing. And I think one of like the biggest things about a true Floridian is they love this natural embodiment of the state.
Which is crazy because, and you're new there.
No, I'm not. I grew up in Central Florida.
Okay.
I got recruited for rowing to go to SU, and ended up, they said, come up to Syracuse, row the boat, come, row Division I and compete. And I got the opportunity to come up here. So I got to essentially go back every year once, winter break came and when New York season ended and hunted all of Florida season.
Oh, wow.
So I got to see almost the beginning of the Atlantic flyaway with Montezuma. And
then go down there and finish off the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you had to come
In
back,
Merritt
obviously,
Island.
before the end
so-
of this, because it
Yeah.
runs to the end of January.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
And
This is like your first time actually being here for our true like late season.
Yeah, because you'd usually be home for winter break
Yeah,
from
we-
SU.
We get
Yeah.
a couple little snowshoots and the mallards, but like no like big water divers, sea ducks. It's kind of the more
Well, and this is
extreme
a-
end of the stuff we've done.
And this is a real season where I think we finally got cold. Like last year was wide open. You
It's
can
like-
hunt. We were shooting teal right till the end of season. Season also ended a week earlier, but we're going to the 12th now. And I mean, we've had good shots of cold, I think,
Yeah,
with snow and stuff.
So-
But
going back to your question on
Yeah.
what makes a Floridian and what like how I would define it, is we have a big influx of people coming in right now. From COVID, our state was open, so we have a lot of people that moved in, a lot of development. There's a lot of investment from private equity that's coming into the state, and we have a ton of wetland and marshes. And I think what makes a Floridian is like what Seth was saying about looking at what our best resource is, which is water. Whether it's fishing, whether it's swimming, wakeboarding, wake surfing, surfing, going to the beaches, seeing the Everglades. It's the number one resource we have. It provides
either
tourism.
salt or fresh.
Either salt or fresh.
right,
Bass fishing and Lake Okeechobee to sail fishing Jupiter.
But you do seem to do a very good job of fucking it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's where you look at. You can talk about Big Sugar down in the Everglades,
Right.
where all that kind of stacks up with Okeechobee, and they do the releases. We have a big problem with red tide. You kind of get into that. You've got your groups down there with Captains for Clean Water. They really do try to advocate Indian River Lagoon Watermen's Alliance.
So there's a lot of positive with it.
Yeah,
From an outsider perspective, it just looks like suburbs and Disney,
So that's
and everything just gets put
It's
on top of
That's what's happening right now, where I think you're having these counties that typically have never seen an influx of people before.
at
and there
this
may be
level.
more, and they're having very rural counties, and you're having a large amount of private equity come in and say, we're willing to give you X amount of houses towards tax dollars to develop this land that's not being used, these marshes, and essentially change it. That water's got to go somewhere. So if you put sand on top of the marsh, now the marsh is running off somewhere else. So, we've got historic flood lines where, your house may not have flooded, 10 years ago, but now when that new neighborhood opens across the street and they rework that marsh and they put sand where the water used to be and they just take that fine per se, some people would just take the fine because they get more money in development. And
They must have to mitigate that, though, I would say.
They do, but
they
it's-
trade lands.
Right.
You're buying into
But-
wetland credits.
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
What I worry about is just over time where that wetland goes, and then what that effect looks like. With the migration, what that effect looks like with where our ducks are being placed.
Yeah, even the effect on hunters. I mean, they just passed a law, or they passed
right to
a
hunt
ruling.
fish.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
right to hunt
Like a
fish.
heritage right.
Yeah.
right.
Like, it's
Yeah.
constitutional.
Not a privilege anymore.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a right.
constitutional.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But like even
That's great.
in one of the most populated or popular duck spots in Florida, they're building houses around it now.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is someone's gonna get mad. Someone that doesn't enjoy the outdoors, someone that doesn't understand what's going on and what's been happening in that place for so many years. I mean, one of my buddies that kind of taught me to hunt Central Florida.
Yeah.
He's been going there since he was a little kid. There used to be 3 boats in line. You would get there at 4 o'clock. There's 3-4 boats in line. You get there at 5 o'clock the day before. There's your 25th in line. By the morning, there's 60 boats in line.
So
But
is it because there's less? Is this like everywhere where there's just less
Places.
places?
There's
It's an
less
access
places.
issue.
But then
Yeah.
you get all the people, like I was saying, with the houses, they start calling the sheriffs. They start coming out.
So do you have, like in New York State, if you can touch somebody's dock if you're in
Mhm.
public water and your shot
so-
string is out, you're legal.
So that-
is that
that's
same
a
in
lot of
Florida?
times in the Panhandle, we use people's
Yeah.
docks as actual blinds.
Right, you park next to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That-
Right up here.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I think
Because there's places that aren't like that. In Michigan, outside of Detroit, Sarah and I lived there when she worked for DU. Everybody owns a pie out into the lake,
Yeah.
into the
wow.
middle.
Yeah.
So you cannot, there's like all kinds of discharge stuff. And so all these lakes with all these, so everybody in the auto industry that works around there also owns a little camp or cottage. And they all own a pie out in the
Yeah.
lake. And so like duck hunting is nearly impossible. Like you got to look at a map and like find a wedge that's like somehow county or state or something.
So that's also
to
kind of
get
the
to.
weird thing with Florida is the high water mark issue. So we were turkey hunting this year. We didn't pull any permits, well, last year, but we didn't pull any permits. So we are trying to figure out places to hunt. Like, how does high water mark? Because Osceolas will walk through the marsh, no problem.
Right.
And so we're like, all right, where do we hunt? So we go out to the river and we find birds, and it's all flooded land. But the problem is there's a select amount of people in the state that can answer the question of, can you legally hunt that? You obviously can't trespass by firearm, but can you legally hunt that? And so you have to send an email, unfortunately, to a select few people in the state, and they have to go back to the 1800s handwritten deeds
Find out if
and
it's
to find out where the original deed line is. And now, like, rivers change over the years. I mean,
Mhm.
since the 1800s,
nothing's the same.
yeah, nothing's the same.
Right.
The deed may be in the middle of the water. Some of our WMAs even go out into the middle of the water, so the left side of the river is public land. You can hunt it whenever you want, and then the other side is permit.
And this is a huge issue across, I think, this whole entire country is like
Oh, yeah.
access to stuff. And when I talk to some of the guys that they help fund some of my research and they take me on guided hunts up north, they've done well for themselves and generation ahead of me, they could be my parents type thing.
Yeah.
But they talk about like when duck hunter numbers were really large,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, opening day was insane. But after that, people didn't go much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And access wasn't as much of an issue either. Right. There were 5 times as many duck hunters. It was busy for opening day, but people spread out and there were places to go. Now, what we run into is like, you can still get private land permission here, but most of the rest of the country is like, it's either a lease or it's public land or you just can't hunt it.
Yeah.
And so Florida sounds like a lot of places where, like, I think the biggest barrier we have to what we do and keeping duck culture going is access.
Oh,
and not
I
having
totally
somebody on
agree.
top of you.
100%.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
So I think in Florida we have a uniformity issue too with access when it comes to pulling permits and quotas, and maybe to shine a little light on what that gentleman was saying in Arkansas in a nicer way. I live near a national wildlife refuge. It's on the water. It's on east coast of Florida. If you're a Florida duck hunter, you know where it is. It's saltwater impoundments. And what I'll say is I live on the water. I could go in there with my boat. I could drive there. I fish it all the time. I haven't pulled a permit for that in 2 years.
Yeah.
The permit access is frustrating because people will pull permits and not hunt it. You have a lot of people applying because you create a permit system. You might get 70 people to apply for you, 80 people that never duck hunted before just to up the numbers.
Yeah, and they just come sit in the boat with you.
Yeah, just to try to get them. So you're having 70, 80 people apply for you, and say that person now has a wedding on that day, they're not going.
right.
And they do it well down in the STA areas of Florida. They have standby permits where you can pull standby permits and go and stand by, and if people don't show up to the hunts, you can say, hey, I'm here, I'd like to go in the hunt. And I love that idea.
We could do a whole entire, I'm looking at my watch, evening of just talking about draw hunts and permits and all that stuff, because and I covered it twice now on the podcast, and I am convinced that we need to understand a lot more the positives and negatives of it, because everybody has all these different systems, but we don't tend to actually lots of times do research to understand if we're actually meeting the needs of the hunters. And you're either doing it on state or federal land mostly, and so you're a public servant, and so the four of us sitting here are the people that are served by that.
Yep.
So you're literally providing a product and doing no product research.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, here's your product. It's like, here's your can of soup. Fuck off if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, no one does that.
I made it, and I made it as convenient as it was for me to do so.
Oh, the
You're providing
the public
product,
official.
but yeah,
Right.
It's what's the most convenient?
Right. Here. Like, here's your can of soup. It doesn't have a fucking label. Guess what? Guess what it is. Like, that's easier for the business.
I didn't want to get up
Figure it out in the dark.
Yeah,
too.
Right.
I didn't want to get up an hour earlier to help you out. It's just-
I'm hoping like the right to hunt and fish like that, with that pass in Florida, is now we can try to push back on our government and kind of say, hey, this is our right to come and hunt and fish this.
We can
Maybe we have a say now.
we can unionize some duck hunters. We can create a duck hunter union.
I'm very critical of the public sector in this regard, but I've also been that person, right? I was the waterfall biologist for the state of Maine. I've worked very closely with a lot of refuge managers, a lot of state WMA managers, and I will say this: a lot of them want to do the right thing, and they're hamstringed by bureaucracy as well.
Yeah.
There is that. There's also laziness. There's also incompetence that also occurs.
Yeah.
There's my biggest one, I think, and why I train students like Dom, is that a lot of them don't hunt anymore.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
has really changed the landscape about how much they care about stuff.
But I will say this:
We should get more beers.
we
Yeah.
should almost.
So, we'll just take a quick break. I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
anybody,
Yeah.
I'll get them.
Oh yeah, I get it.
I'm sticking to two.
I do
Trying
want
to see.
to touch back on dogs real quick.
Thank you so much.
It was sunny, cold, but sunny. And then you go to
That one's for you,
Oswego. They got videos of Oswego. It's like 50-mile-an-hour wind, white out, blowing sideways.
Have you been to the Jordan Mini Mart just down the hill from me here? Thanks,
No.
bud. It's like literally like a mile away. Like I
Yeah.
take back roads to go to it and come home. When was that?
Today.
Today, like a noon.
Yeah, that's lake effect.
Yeah, it was
Lake effect
nasty.
bands. It's coming down.
Waters out all over the break wall.
So this is what Sarah and I worried about for tomorrow on the marshes is, let's cover how we couldn't hit anything yesterday.
No doubt.
But I'm like, it looks like we're gonna get like 2 to 4 inches, and I don't like hunting in straight rain, straight snow. It's horrible. Ducks don't want to fly. It's like if it's 20-mile-an-hour wind or more, they move on like a 10 to 15 maybe gust, but once it gets super windy, they just sit down.
They just want to swim around place to place, I feel.
What's that?
They swim around place to place.
Yeah, more so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not too big on like, everybody's like, don't you hunt ducks in the rain? I'm like, fuck no. Like, it's miserable.
I know.
And they don't fly as well as they do
Yeah.
on like a windy, like broken sky day,
Yeah.
you know? But so all of us, my wife and I, were in one spot. These guys, along with is he coming?
Yeah, he'll be here in like 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, we gotta find another chair. Shit, I don't have friends, so we don't have that
We'll
many
make
chairs in this house.
Make them stand.
Yeah.
Lean over the microphone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we were all in the same marsh yesterday, and it was gross. Like, if anybody's ever had those days where you can't hit anything, I will admit, this is messed up. This is like probably my worst shooting. I looked at my shells left. I shot 20 times, and I killed 3 ducks.
That's okay.
My wife shot 12 times and killed 1 duck. You guys struggled shooting. I don't think it was that bad, though.
I did have one that was just like a simple layup, just beautiful mallard, just cupped up on my side, just feet down, like perfect shot. And I shoot all 3 times, miss, grab one from my belt, load it up.
It was still in the air.
It still flies away. Not even touched.
Nothing.
Didn't even touch it.
It gets better. He goes, no, I crushed it. And then we're sitting there, we're like, dude, that was kind of hard for you to hit it on that last shell. And we're like, a little bit, I'm like, dude, you might have like smoked a cattail.
Oh, that's the hint. That was the hint. I was talking about the big drake.
No, you like smoked
Yeah.
it. You're like, I hit it. I
Yeah.
crushed it. It's down. It never got up.
I think
I'm
I smoked
like,
a cattail.
you smoked a cattail. And
I just saw the feathers.
I'm like,
Oh,
he's
you
like,
shot a cattail in front of you.
no, feathers like puffed up. And I go, I think you shot a cattail. I went, no birdie.
Yeah.
He got quiet after that.
Yeah. I did come back around. We smoked some black ducks on the first shot, so
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
nice for you guys from
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Shooting,
Oh,
shooting
yeah.
black ducks for sure.
You never realized how cool black ducks were until you go back to Florida. That's the same thing with models. You never realize how cool model ducks are until you leave Florida, and then you just see them. They're coming in, and then, you know, just like models, people will say, "Oh, I don't like shooting black ducks. We get too many of them." But
Yeah.
you can call out a duck, and it's that big, and it comes in, and it's good
so
tasting,
beautiful.
and it's
Yeah.
a pretty bird. I mean,
And they're doing natural stuff too. Like, I put up on Instagram today on the Foul Weather page, like a picture of a mallard and a black duck that I plucked side by side. And the mallard, like the black ducks always have more white fat. Even when they're on corn, they're doing things slightly different, right? We did a study on Long Island where we pulled blood from them and looked at carbon footprint, basically stable isotope stuff.
Yeah.
It tells you how much like plant material versus animal, so carbon, nitrogen. And black ducks were always more on like the natural, like animal foods and natural foods, and mallards were always much more on the corn in general.
Yeah.
It makes a mallard taste a little better sometimes too. But
I agree.
but the point is they're a different animal.
And I will say, there's people that say that all ducks don't taste different, and duck tastes like duck, and it doesn't matter what they eat. I've eaten not millions, but a lot of ringers in my lifetime, and I will tell you, it does not taste as good as a mallard or a model, even.
No.
A model in Florida does taste so good compared to a ringer.
So they're white. Are they what? The mottled ducks are white fat, pretty much in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah.
Are they fat though? Do they carry fat?
No, a little thin.
Some, like
little
a thin
Because they don't have to, right?
Yeah.
'Cause they're not migrating anymore.
Yeah. And it's also like 70 degrees in Florida right now.
And the down on the ducks is almost like shed down by the time they get here for the migratory ducks
Yeah.
that we get. They're so much lighter and smaller. Even if they're full plumed old birds, they're just it feels like they got rid of their coat by the time they got down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guarantee if you shot a bluebill up here, totally different duck.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they get
Absolutely.
fat.
You guys saw
Yeah,
them
you
today.
can
they're huge.
You can roast them.
Yeah.
Like you can roast them in an oven and like full plucked bluebills, and they will not taste horrible.
See, our bluebills taste like the bottom of the lake.
Oh, yeah. I've heard-
Well, if you shoot a black duck on the coast of Maine,
Yeah.
you might as well eat a rotten cod.
Wow.
Like it is not good.
Yeah.
But when Sarah and I hunted, we found this was amazing. So cranberries will naturally grow along these like sandy reservoir edges in Maine,
That's cool.
and we shot black ducks that were like landing and then walking up and eating cranberries on like the sand.
It's like a blueberry bed.
And then we picked cranberries and like plucked them, and then did like the breast with the skin still on, and then roasted them, and then did cranberry sauce on top. So like ducks that were eating cranberries, so their meat tasted sweet. Plus put cranberries on them.
That sounds so good.
That sounds
amazing.
incredible.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. But like people
I think
who
the
shoot
coolest.
coastal black ducks, they don't always Tastes great. Dog, what are you doing over there?
He's just loving on
I
everybody.
really like what you said
scrounging
about
for food.
ringers earlier.
And when they taste good.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people in Florida would be interested to kind of hear that.
Also,
what you
the
were
skin
saying.
Well, don't come north to shoot a ringneck. That's
Also,
No,
a ringer in Florida,
We hardly
the
have any.
skin like glues to the body.
yeah,
Like you have to cut the skin off
Yeah.
the
We,
breast.
we
Yeah.
did that with the one up here.
yeah, the skin is.
You're like, you were showing me like, hey, this like when I first started duck hunting, you're like, this is like one of the yuckier tasting birds because I can't even get the skin off. Like,
Yeah.
I can't like pull the feathers.
Well, it's like longtail ducks. Longtail ducks, I mean, you need pliers to pull their
Oh
feathers.
yeah.
So, Sarah, I met my wife. This is crazy. That was a weird segue.
You're so excited.
Weird.
To tell
Oh, no,
the story.
you can see it in my face. So, she was a student at University of Western Ontario
Yeah.
when we were doing this research on these birds. Well, to do the full body condition of every bird, how much protein, fat, ash, which is minerals, was in them, you can't put the feathers in because it throws off all the readings. So you have
makes
to
sense.
pluck every single bird. And I'm talking like every feather has to come out of every single bird.
Yeah.
So I put out an
That's a
announcement.
ton.
So she was in the wildlife management class, which Scott Petrie, who's now the CEO of Delta Waterfall,
Yeah.
was teaching. And he's like, you got to hire this girl from North Bay for your research stuff. So it was funny. Every single person that showed up to work in my lab was a relatively attractive co-ed.
Mhm.
And so, and I've got a big 50-gallon barrel with a garbage bag in it, and these pretty attractive girls with white lab coats, which weren't white because they're like bloody.
Yeah,
they're
dark
pulling.
blood and
They're
feathers.
pulling and there's feathers everywhere. People would walk by that lab and be like, "Did I just see that?"
Yeah.
It's like a freaking nightmare over there. So what's funny is, and I've told this several times, and she knows it. She's fine with it. She actually asked me out on a date,
The best.
right? And
That's the best.
and I've always said, like, look, this wasn't anything special. I was hitting on every one of you. You're just the only one that bit. But it worked out. So she worked. Everybody knows.
Spraying and praying.
I was just like, oh, let's see how this works out. You know. I was a student as well, though. I was a PhD student, so it wasn't like a weird setting like
You're
that.
out there giving the group 3, you know, hopefully one hits.
It was.
It's like
It was
shooting at
solid.
birds.
It was like shooting approved.
Yeah.
But no, longtail ducks, like those feathers are like welded into them.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to do some taxidermy stuff, and they were telling me like the first bird you start with is like a sea duck because their skin's like so tough.
Like
Right.
You can't tear the
Yeah.
holes in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain. Like nobody wanted to pluck those things. Like buffaloheads and golden eyes, the feathers would come out of, but those things would be like, you know, you got to teach people how to pull feathers. You don't grab them all. You do like longtails are like one at a time, like as fast as you can to get them out.
So do you all use dogs to collect sea ducks? Obviously, you could use Chesapeake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything in New York that you like look out for besides obviously cold weather with dogs? Like, is there anything that's gonna?
We have goggles for moist soil stuff. So like Biden's, which is like beggar's ticks, is a really good dog food.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen those, yellow flower in the fall, and then they get stuck to your clothes like crazy.
Not the ones to the other day.
Yeah.
You guys are like, what the heck is this? It was
What was it?
I think it's the Murdochs. They're like a tennis ball.
Yeah, burdock. Those are uplandy.
We were out there throwing them at each other.
To each other. Yeah, every time my dog mills around the edge of the wetlands around here, she gets like covered with them. She's like running around with like a ball of them stuck to her
Her
tail.
wire hair would be like terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
She's terrible in
Dude,
Florida.
people up here actually shave their wire hair.
I would.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would.
you would
I've
have
thought about
to
Because they just get everything off.
Well, I've thought about shaving her belly too, because like when I hunt her in Florida, the mud, when we get into the mud, it just makes her hair just like almost like mats, just all over her stomach. And every time I gotta bring her home, cut little mats out, I feel so bad.
Dude, German short hair doesn't get anything like that.
Yeah, but then yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I saw, like I said earlier, I grew up with short hairs, and I went to a wire hair just personally because I was told that they're more individual dogs. They don't like running with packs, so I live alone. I was like, perfect. It would just be me and my little dog, which I didn't realize was going to turn into a Velcro dog. So pretty much take that dog
Just
everywhere.
glued to you.
Yeah.
Does it have like that anxiety when you leave?
A little bit
Separation.
for like the first 30 minutes, and then she's like, "Oh, he's gone." All right, like I can't convince him anymore to come back in, you know. But yeah, hunting dogs in Florida, like I mean, obviously, as a Floridian, you're a little more relaxed. Like, if we see an alligator, we're like, oh, cool, guys, alligators, just letting you know. Obviously, if y'all came down, y'all would be a little more wary of that.
Didn't you go down there and like step on one and be like,
No, so they took me to one of the refuge hunts. They took me to one of the refuge hunts, and we're running around with the longtail the day before on the borrow ditch, and like we almost smoked one with the freaking boat. It went in right off the borrow ditch, and I'm like, he's like,
it happens all the time.
He's like,
People
that was
hit
a big
gators
one.
all the time.
And that was like the first
Yeah.
alligator I've ever seen.
like, do you walk around and like set decoys and like, because when
I
they're
could've
super
sworn.
sluggish,
So
do you bump into them like
Oh,
they're just
yeah.
sitting there? Oh, fuck
yeah.
that.
So we had a buddy literally 2 weeks ago. I was scouting one morning. He was hunting, and I leave early because I gotta go back to work. I'd be at work at 9. So I take my boat to work. I'm like changing, into my corporate America clothes, you know. And so I get a call from him, and he's like, "Man, I'm that bad. Like I'm in a really bad situation." I'm like, "All right, like send me a video." And he has gone down this airboat path, and this is when the St. John's was super high and it was dropping slowly. So everything that we had run
Dropped
earlier,
from Helene.
like all our paths
Oh, from
earlier
Helene.
that were 6 inches high. Like you can run a mud boat in 6 inches. You can run a mud boat in 3 inches. No problem if you're on plane. But everything that we had run literally last week was a foot lower. So he goes from an airboat path that is probably a foot deep to 6 inches to 3 inches to literally a path that is a mud motor scar line
Yeah.
and dry land. He is 60 yards on dry land.
Yeah,
He's
like
like, I need
a
your
soccer
help.
field.
Oh shit.
And I'm like,
Yeah, he's playing soccer.
I don't know. Like, I can't even pull you out with a mud motor. Like, you can't get that much torque to pull that far. And he has like, we call it the barge. It's at like 18 foot.
It's a big boat.
Yeah.
18 by 56.
So what's your mud like? Like, is it step in it and disappear, or what is it?
So
Advanced.
diverse.
Both.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he ended up having to bring. But he had to call a travel agency, like a airboat trip place, to go get him.
To go get.
And they do it no problem. They're super nice people down there. Like everybody's super helpful.
Yeah.
But he was walking to another hunter to try to see if they could help at least push or try to push it. And he stepped on a gator in 10 inches of water and pulled his foot out from under him and just took off. And that's so, it's not common to step on them like that unless it's cold, but they're there. Like I would say where we hunt, sometimes you're probably within 20 yards, 30 yards of a gator most times.
Well, when you guys had me down, the story I have from that is you took me out, and I'm like, I see these gators. You can see their eyes with the lights, like deer.
That's what we do. We shine our hole right before
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
Is there a gator in our hole? Where is it? Where's it hanging out? Every once in a while, we'll shine again and see if it's moved.
How big is it? Can we run the dog?
Yeah,
Yes.
can we run the dog? I won't run my dog if there's a gator in the hole. I won't run my dog in certain marshes that are
So what do you
too
do?
deep.
Bring them and then just like hold them?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
right.
I'll just sit her on the chair, but will like some marshes that we've talked about, they're so deep that I won't run my dog in a marsh deeper than she can touch because a gator comes up under it. I can't get to you. I can't do anything.
Just
Like when I was first training her and her like retrieve wasn't that great and her recall wasn't that great, I would just have a long line out there 30 yards. And if anything, I'm dragging her back.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've had there's areas where you've heard it, the nickname, the zoo, and they've got big gators, and you can't hunt gators in there.
Like 12 footers.
Oh yeah, 12-foot 13s.
Yeah,
So-
13s.
So for the listeners, the zoo is a place that is literally a zoo because there's so many people that
So
hunt it.
many people that hunt it. It's called the zoo.
Yeah.
And it's
Awesome.
About every 100 yards, you're getting peppered all day.
I got shot in the face.
Everybody's
That's-
yelling at everybody.
we were joking.
Sounds
we
like
were
a
gonna-
blast.
Yeah, right.
So like usually I say the bare minimum you should do is one party per 100 acres. Or sorry, one party per 50.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
No. When you get like where we were at is a party per 100.
That was
And that is cool because what happens is that you can shoot ducks and ducks land between you and the next part. So literally ducks are using the marsh while you're hunting it. To me, that's like a premier situation all around. The hunt's better. The ducks still get to find spots in between. But your place is how many
I would
acres
say not
with how many hunters?
Probably
100 acres,
like 150, 200.
and there's probably well over 40 boats on
Yeah.
a Saturday, and the problem is, it's
And
like,
like
oh,
you
the
can
north
get up
end.
to 60,
It's like
70
2 acres
boats.
per, a little over two acres per boat.
And that's the thing is,
Yeah, that's nuts.
there's islands out there, so you take up half the marsh with islands.
Yeah.
So like, let's say there's, I don't know, 100 huntable acres.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit, 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
That's Jake. Somebody showed up late to the party.
But we have a kind of a unwritten rule down in Florida that you just got to pay the tax man, and the tax man is an alligator that takes your
duck.
takes your duck.
Takes your dog.
Yeah,
we
or
see-
the eagles that take your duck, just like here.
Yeah, we see a lot of alligators take ducks, and it's not worth it to get in between you and a 12-foot, because you might have a 10 or an 8-footer get the alligator, but there's just, for some reason, whenever you see a duck get taken down by a gator, this thing is
Spooky.
it's ballsy too.
And it's spooky.
Oh, it is.
Like you just see a gator get taken by, or a duck get taken by a gator, and they're like, oh, I gotta go pick up decoys.
I'm not going right. I got to pick up decoys.
Well, we were adjusting the decoys when we were hunting.
Jake, welcome.
Jake.
You were always welcome, by the way.
Yeah.
You get to sit on the bench that we charge decoys on.
Well, what was it? We were adjusting the spread the morning we were hunting. I was already like terrified of the gators.
Yeah.
And you like drug your leg across like a tree stump or something, and you jumped.
But that's exactly what a gator feels like.
Yeah,
Is a
that's
tree.
what it feels like.
And I'm like, I really wish we could shoot puddle ducks out of the boat, but
There's venison stew over
Yeah.
there if you want a bowl.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be careful.
Yeah,
I
there's
like
another
sitting
bowl.
in the
Go ahead.
boat.
There's a bowl right there. There should be.
But like
spoons.
people also don't like we take in the relative scheme of things, Floridians take gators very, very unseriously. Like the amount of serious that we take a hurricane. Like we're throwing parties with hurricanes, we're just hanging out with gators in like a relative space.
We do a lot of gator hunting.
We do.
Me and Seth tend to do a lot of gator hunting, and
I'm not gonna lie, I killed the
hunt that
biggest
hard.
one this year.
Wait, how big was that gator you killed?
It
Seth?
was 11 inches 11 feet 1 inch. So
I don't know what that means. That's
killed
big, right?
Yeah. So big gator, probably like when we took it to the processor, they were surprised that
No divers.
a solo
No divers.
kind of hunting, like it's just me and my family. It's me, my mom, my dad, and my uncle. And so we fought this 11-foot gator for 2.5 hours in a canal with an 8,000 series spinning rod connected to. So how we do?
So how you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not shooting them.
No, we're not shooting them. So in the state of Florida, you're not allowed to shoot them. You're not allowed to like hang line them.
Okay.
You're only allowed to either bait. You can shoot them with a harpoon out of a crossbow. A lot of people do that.
or an air gun.
Or an air gun. And then you can treble hook them. You can throw treble hooks. The most successful out of everything, like snag them.
Yeah.
But the most successful out of everything, I've killed all my gators off of it, is baiting and then throwing treble hooks once you have the line to the gator. So you know relatively where it is, and you throw treble hooks over them to have second lines. Because a lot of times they'll pop the line.
So you're like putting extra hooks into it.
Yeah.
So you're not even putting pressure on that bait line. You're really
Because-
using that as a guideline, because what's going to happen is that gator's going to eat the bait. It's going to sink to the bottom, most likely.
And hang out.
And there's no hook. There's no hook in the
There's
bait
no
line.
hook in
It's
that
a.
bait.
It's just so you know where it's at.
Well, it's
a cylindrical piece of wood that's maybe 3 inches long, and it's like wired through a beef lung. And so when they eat it, it kind of goes down vertical down their canal or their stomach and their esophagus, and they actually have a flap in the back of their throat that stops water from going in when they eat.
When they eat. Yeah.
And this is kind of debatable throughout. You can look it up on Google, and everybody has their own opinion. And gators do like vomit, but it's very hard for them to vomit. So once you put any pressure on it, that piece of wood turns sideways and gets stuck in their esophagus.
Oh, so you got them on a line.
Yeah, but the good thing
That's
about
wild.
it is, in case you're out night hunting at 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night, and that comes up, you cut the line, and they can digest all of that.
Yeah,
they won't kill it. It won't kill it.
That's cool. Yeah, so you can basically be like, I'm done.
Yeah,
this ain't happening.
Yeah.
Well,
you just pull up a 7-foot gator, and you're like, I don't really want to kill.
I don't want to kill it.
Yeah, and you cut the line, and they digest it, and they're back to eating hogs and turkeys and random stuff the next day.
And
ducks. Our ducks.
Yeah.
So you would essentially bait it with this wooden dowel and a beef long. The beef longs float. The gator eats it.
It's a beat, literally like a cow long.
Goat long, beef long. Yeah. So
why don't you just be like, hey,
we got a beef long guy.
Yeah. we got a guy.
We got a beef long guy. We got a goat long guy. We got an oyster guy. You know.
You got an iguana guy? I heard there's an iguana.
We do have an iguana guy. He goes and shoots iguanas, and he goes during the big freezes. Like, I'm sure he'll be out with this freeze, this polar vortex coming. They're gonna fall out of all the trees.
Yeah, you just pick them up,
and he's gonna pick them up.
Yeah,
or he
don't
shoots them
move
with dart
until
guns,
they warm
blow
up.
dart guns.
What do you do? Just cut their heads off and call it good?
I don't hunt iguanas.
People just almost use like a duck finisher.
Yeah.
Stick it in the brain. But most people, they just drive up and down canals that like push pull or trolling motor down canals.
I've seen it.
Like the big like state-owned guys, they just drive down canals and shoot them.
See the one with the wire hair?
Are they edible?
Yeah, Python Cowboy.
Python Cowboy. He blow darts him, has his wire hair go and pick him up.
He's a Drothar.
A Drothar.
Yeah, so he's a Drothar.
The German one.
Yeah.
All right. So when the dogs barked, Jake showed up.
Yeah.
Jake's it's going. No need to be nervous on the podcast. I just set the microphones up. We just started talking.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've just been bullshitting. It's fine. Friends with Dominic
and Jack. I
and
met
Jack.
Jake through Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So whose boat has the issues? Your water pump or Jake's?
No, they're all mine.
They're all your boat.
We all just get mad at Jake.
So you can't be that mad because we don't have that resource.
I bet you've got a boat though, don't you?
Back home. I haven't brought it up here.
What do you? I thought you pulled a thing around with your no.
No, I mean I gotta get a boat for up here, but the main issue is I'm in a college apartment still, and there ain't no space for a boat.
Mm-hmm.
You got a boat
as a student.
Yeah, there's no option. There's very select
for like
very
canoe, kayak. Yeah,
just so much swamp, so much grass. Like you're not big water,
area.
big swamps.
But that's the thing. Even if you're in a canoe or kayak, it's terrible because you have to trudge through all that hydrilla.
Yeah,
like you're just bottoming out the whole time.
You guys are like an invasive species hellhole.
Oh, we are.
Oh,
we are.
We are. Well, I don't. United States.
Capital of the United States.
It's gotta be.
I want to pour my heart out for hydrilla.
Yes.
Because in Florida, and I want to say this, hydrilla is something that brings the ducks in and is good for the state of Florida.
We hunt hydrilla patches.
Hydrilla is needed. And
what do they
fight the spraying?
How do they eat it? Like,
they don't eat the hydrilla. They eat the snails off of it.
Well, they do eat. They eat
that's why your ringnecks taste like shit.
Well, models eat the snails.
Well, yes, they eat the models,
and
the
corn
ringnecks,
from grandma's backyard.
The spoonies. Everything eats the hydrilla. It's got a lot of protein in it.
Okay.
So what? A big lake that we had a problem with was Lake Apopka. And Lake Apopka was one of the best lakes for waterfowl hunting historically.
Mm-hmm. It's like an Okeechobee kind of historically.
It would bring in a lot of tax dollars. 90% of the usage on Lake Apopka right now is from fishermen or waterfowlers.
Okay.
And both fishermen and waterfowlers have agreed that hydrilla is good for the lake. Now, like what I talked about earlier with a lot of development, you have a lot of people moving in on this lake that was historically a sportsman's lake.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got people that are from out of state or new people that want to take a wakeboard boat out or
want to jet
surf,
ski.
and they don't want to fall in the water and feel weeds on their legs because they think it's icky. Now,
they think it's icky.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. And it's also you have real estate groups that want to push for more houses on the lake. And how do you sell more houses on the lake? You clean up the weeds. You make it more appealing. You make it look nicer. But Lake Apopka is a very, very polluted lake. Historically very polluted because it had all the runoff from the orange groves and the farms in the area. So the hydrilla was something that really helped the lake bounce back. So
it pulled all that.
Oh, it pulled all of it out.
All that pollution out.
For a while, they were using all these natural plants, and these natural plants would die in a year. About a year, they'd have to replant everything.
Yeah.
Put a lot of money into replanting those plants when the hydrilla was able to clean it quickly. Now they want to take all the hydrilla out. That being said, I've put in a lot of time going to different meetings, stakeholder meetings, county meetings, where I fought to keep a lot of the hydrilla in because it's cleaning this lake. This lake is still polluted, and as much as we want to put these historic, Florida plants in there, the water has changed so much. These plants don't grow anymore. So these plants that used to grow, whatever the plant that used to grow there 80 years ago and bring these ducks in, that food source is now dying off in a year because it's just not the same water it was because we polluted it so much to where we actually needed to come up with another resource to try to clean it. So it's like...
So there's an old cartoon about this. It's like you start with a mouse, then you get a cat.
Yep.
You get a dog, then you get a lion, and then the lion eats you.
Yeah. So that's Florida.
Like
too.
Florida is like this constant battle of like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
The next thing.
And that's we keep on doing it. Everything.
We're gonna talk model ducks, yes, Dom. Tom says the next thing is the extinction of model ducks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you guys want to hit on that one?
Yeah.
So that's really how I it's how I kind of met you.
Yeah.
We did a Zoom meeting, Jack, and Dominic's working on mallard genetics. But one of those components is not just, game farm mallards and North American wild mallards, but the effect on model ducks, which is much more, which is an endemic species. I shouldn't say much more. It's an endemic species. So it's non-migratory. It's in Florida. It's in Louisiana, South Carolina coast and such, down to Texas.
Yep.
And they're Disney, what do we call them? Daffy Ducks or Disney Ducks?
Disney Ducks, yeah, mud models.
Mud models is probably the number one name.
Trespassers on the Buccaneers
do you want to start?
Stadium.
What's that?
Trespassers on the Buccaneers Stadium.
Yeah, that was a hybrid.
That was
a hybrid.
Model duck. I tried to zoom in on that.
That's the thing is that's the issue is that these models or these mud mallards, whatever you want to call them, people call them pet ducks, even like the more greenhead ones, they call them pet ducks. They just hang out with people. I mean, they're bread eaters ultimately. So, I mean, you go to any golf course in Florida, you're going to see hundreds.
And so, Dom, do you want to cover it like just the history of mallards in Florida or the lack of that and models real quick for the listeners?
Hunter's got all that stuff on the game farm releases. Hunter Collins, our previous master's student, who's now at DU. When he was looking at like where are these like game farm mallards being released, there's like one place that's like historical. It's like grandfathered in. That releases game farm mallards in Florida.
In Florida.
So like green-headed, pen-raised mallards in Florida, where there's an endemic species, the model duck, that can readily breed with these game farm mallards. Have they survived past the shooting preserve? Yeah. And obviously it's happening. To some extent, we kind of think, people buying ducks for like their kids for Easter. They're cute when they're little, but when they start crapping everywhere and they want to run around the yard, they make it out into your Mosquito Lagoon, breed with Mrs. or Mr. pure model duck, and then before you know it, after so many interbreedings that take place, you're not really left with a pure model duck anymore, which is really scary.
I mean, like you said,
that's like your child. It's your thing that's unique to Florida.
100%.
And some people can't get a Florida model duck in New York. You can shoot a black duck, you can shoot a mallard, but you're not going to shoot that little special duck, mallard-like duck that's only in peninsular Florida.
Right.
I agree.
And it's genetically even more different than a mallard is to a black duck in terms of the Florida model duck to the Western Gulf Coast model duck, from what Phil was saying. So that it's like a really neat thing. And from somebody like all of us, like we love duck hunting, but we really love the diversity of it. And we've all said like, we want to shoot the 41.
Yeah.
Right.
There may not be 41.
We love the diversity of it. So
right. Does it exist?
Is it really like a Florida model duck, or is it some like mangy thing mixed with a game farm mallard? And the overall question we have too is like, not only is it now no longer like what we are really calling it potentially, but like, is this like detrimental towards your model population due to like having domestic traits present?
Yeah. And so that's actually like a twofold thing, right? Like one of the things I always wanted to come up with, and I don't think we can get there, is like a key, like a hunter could just like put the duck bill down or use an app that we built to be like, this is a pure wild mallard or it's not. And what we found is it's a lot messier than that, for sure. But to think that somehow we actually caused the extinction of a genetically pure wild mallard in North America would be gross. As hunters. Even if it didn't affect the population. See what I mean? Like, to me, that's just effed up thing.
It's like putting brown trout in your like native brook trout stream.
Right,
It's
which we
gone.
did.
They can't come back.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's gone.
Let's not bring up fisheries people because
Okay.
they mess with like, hey, let's just throw this over here. Like,
Yeah.
think if deer biologists did that.
Yeah.
Oh, let's just put an antelope over here and see what happens. I mean, okay, we did it, but not like fisheries people do.
Yeah.
But the mottled duck really seems like a thing in these. So the Louisiana population and the Florida population are different. They don't actually crop. They don't move between
There's like
them,
some
right?
imaginary line that they just don't really.
It's that
They
game
don't
farm.
mix. Right.
It's like a farm in the panhandle. It's like no, we're staying away from there.
Yeah.
But it is possible that and this is what Dominic's working on with these folks because they're just voluntarily providing samples from when they hunt, is that we might be seeing the genetic extinction of the pure mottled duck.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for part 2, where we continue this great conversation with the Florida boys.